what works well in real life does not mean that it will work well in fiction. That there is a fundamental difference between real life and fiction, and journaling is always a great idea. Turning your experience into words on page is always excellent. It's a practice that will make you a better observer, make you more thoughtful about your life, make you better at making decisions, make you think more clearly, and become a better writer, and it will supply you with a lot more fodder for that creative practice. It will give you more material to work with. Journaling and turning experience into words is essential to good writing. But when we think about fiction, when we think about translating our experiences into fiction, you may have gone through a relationship that for you was very dramatic. It brought you to great highs and great lows, and the whole time thinking, wow, what a story, what an incredible story, and the proof was the way it was making you feel. But the problem is when you try to turn that into a story, it could turn out to be a very mediocre story. Does not take away, that does not diminish, the substance and the significance of that experience that you went through, but it just proves that what plays well in real life may not necessarily play well in fiction. So the thing to do is to pay attention to that. Go ahead and put them all in your story, churn it out, do the alchemy on it, turn it into fiction. But then look at it just for that. Kind of forget that you ever found it in real life, and ask yourself, how is it working in this new context? How is it working in this new environment? Fiction is virtual reality. There are things that could be very powerful in real life that just don't ring well, that don't have an impact in fiction. And a willingness to say, okay, it's not funny in the story, take it out, try something else. And I think a big part, being a writer is a lifelong learning practice, and a big part of that learning is learning what plays well in fiction, what works well in fiction. And every writer kind of discovers their own, what works well for them. So, a comedic writer might discover a lot of things that play well in fiction that other great authors would never ever stumble across, would never discover and start using. If you have music that is really wonderful to listen to, how can you translate that into the fiction? You can't take that experience that you have in real life and have the impact it has on you taking place by describing it with words on page. So fiction is kind of an alternate reality where you just need to you need to have a different set of inspiring, wonderful, terrible, memorable events and things happen there that don't directly have to do with reality. Go ahead and let real life experiences find their way to your writing and turn up in your fiction and shape the characters that you create. And then an experience that I have a lot is that if I put the writing away and forget about it and it drifts out of my memory, when I go back to it, I'm only reading it for the writing. It no longer has the subtle connections of the feelings of a recent experience that I've been through, and then I can judge it on its own worth. I can get a sense for how a reader who's never been through that experience how the writing itself would affect them. And then I can really understand what is working. And often the things that I thought were the mountains turn out to be molehills, and the things that I thought were insignificant turn out to be the most striking parts of the story. I'm not saying don't write about the experiences that you've gone through. By all means, write it down, because those are the things that you care most about and have the most impact on you. And by going through the process of putting them into words, that's just a huge part of writing, and a huge part of the reason why we write, to have a enhanced experience of life. And then over time it will change and change and change, and there will be a lot of elements, and a lot of the flavor of your life experience will find itself eventually to the fiction. And I make these tutorials so that I have a chance to let people hear about my website, solomation.com, where I'm putting up my fiction project, Terrible Immunity. I want to put it all up there for free, and if you have time, please check it out. I would appreciate it. Please also hit the like button. Leave a comment if you have any further thoughts about the difference between life experience and the virtual environment of fiction. And please subscribe.